Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Vehicle X. Yeah, so I wanted to show you guys the full release of the 10.1 version of Sonic Ether's Unbelievable Shader mod. Now, I followed his link from Facebook to forums and then followed his directions from there, which I'd recommend you doing. So there'll be a link in the description for that. So I'm using the recommended texture for this. Now I've actually had people say things like, I don't like the shader because it makes spiders look like freaks and all that. Um, this one is actually a really nice, really cool. It's actually really awesome shader. It's the full version, so it's his total release. I'm actually on night on this. This is actually a backup of my world, but let's just look at it. So I'm using Optifine as well. Because it's a current release, I have the ability to zoom in with Optifine. So yeah, this is a backup. You might have seen some frame rate there. I'm just going to tell you that that thing up there can actually cause a lot of frame rate. Let's actually go up there and make it so that they don't spawn. But having the clouds and the textures going, it looks really amazing, I think. Yeah, it's actually off, so yeah, probably just some random lag. I did notice that my particular setup, I get better FPS using a different texture. But anyway, so I wanted to show you guys some cool stuff about it. If I go over here in the desert, you can see that the Endermen do not look like freaks. Their eyes glow, which I think looks really cool. Yeah. The textures for the mobs on top are cool as well. You can see they're wearing like a cool little thing. This is a little baby zombie. So I wanted to show you, this is a cool thing about a texture like this. If you hold a block that's got light, it actually gives you a torch. So I like the sand, the way that it sparkles like that, really cool. Take a look at the creepers. That zombie looks funny. But yeah, it lighting up in the dark is really cool. So you can see that we got, I think those are the same look. Now it's got randomized mobs, I think. Let's actually test that. Yeah, randomized mobs is part of the, now you can only use random mobs like this with Optifine enabled. You can do it in another way, but it's a lot harder. So one of the things I did want to mention, that this shader pack combined with Optifine gives you so much more than what you guys have seen, previously. As you can see here, this being able to zoom in is really cool. And yeah, so let's go ahead and check it out in the daytime. Alright, so it is morning time. It is actually, I think, right before you'd wake up, and it just looks really nice. So this is the recommended texture. You can see with the sky, it looks really cool. The spiders do not glow like freaks. Something I did want to show you is if I was to use any other texture pack, it would actually make the spiders glow like freaks, and the same with the Enderman. But you can actually see here that the spiders look really cool and nice. So recommended texture, it's got cool swords, cool bows, and all that stuff. So yeah, other things besides the torch actually lighting up the area around you, the texture for horses and donkeys are not done on this texture yet. I actually don't know why. I noticed most mobs are actually done. Some in the Nether aren't, which we're going to go into the Nether real quick. I don't want to make this video too long, and just to remind you that this is actually on a single player, and it's a backup of my Realms world. This is where I experiment with things to see exactly how much material I would need, and so on. So there are features to using Optifine that I would go into. For instance, you can make panes of glass or glass just look like one solid piece. It also works for bookshelves. but I actually like the individual bookshelves myself. It's also simpler and easier. So let's go into the Nether. Alright, so in the Nether, obviously you'll lose a little bit of FPS at first. You will notice I'm loading quite a bit of chunks. That's actually because I'm using Optifine. It actually preloads areas that it thinks you might go into, so it loads a lot more. As you can see, the textures for the Enderman have not been done, so yeah. I do like the texture though, and I like the fact that it actually lights up. It's really cool. So yeah, that's pretty much, we can go and look at rain. It looks to me like he actually got rid of the glassy effect, which was something I actually liked, but I will say that it sucked if you had one piece of glass on your roof for a skylight, it would actually show the floor as being wet, which kind of sucked, so I can see why he actually removed it. So let's go ahead and make it rain real quick. Alright, so weather rain, and as you can see, it gets foggy. The clouds get dark. But yeah, I like the fact that he actually got rid of the glossy look. But if we go over here, he minimized the particulates for the final release, which is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it or not. This texture doesn't really show it so much, but you can actually see the particulates. Let me actually zoom in. So that's what the particulates are like, and that actually helps FPS. The minimum I get is 30, the maximum is 60. So when it's raining, obviously it takes it down to to about 30. So yeah, but once we get out of the rain, it stops raining, it goes back up. But yeah, just a little sneak peek. It's not a preview, this is the actual release. I'm using it on the 1.7.5 with Optifine, which works amazing on the server. Now I will say this, you cannot use this on realms, you can't use shaders on realms, but I did want to show you, let me clear weather real quick. Alright, so now that weather's clear, we went into the Nether, we looked at the cool features, and we looked at the recommended textures. I wanted to show you it with the BD Craft, which is something I'm probably going to be using for the server. So let me go ahead and change my texture real quick. Alright, so this is the BD Craft. Now with the shader, the torch does the same thing. Yeah, the bow looks a little different, the sword looks really cool. Yeah, everything I really like of the BD Craft, which we're probably going to be using on the server. I wanted to show you that it actually has other aspects to it if you use it with Optifine, which is these clouds in the background. The other texture has it too. Yeah, so I'm only using Optifine because somebody asked me if you can actually use it on the realms. So I'm actually going to jump on realms real quick and enable clouds and show you probably what my future episodes will look like. Alright, so 1.7.9 with Optifine installed, and we're going to jump on the realm, and I just wanted to show you guys it. Somebody asked me if it's possible to use mods. Now I know this is a modification, so if I can use this, chances are you can use others. I don't know about using Feed the Beast on it, but yeah. You'll see there's a slight animation thing that goes on when you go to a realm, which shows your default. I've only noticed it with this particular texture, but this is the 1.8 snapshot version of the BD Craft. BD Craft's one of my favorite textures. I remember when I seen it on Yogg's cast, I was like, that's just awesome. So on the server, I can load more chunks and get better FPS and use a lot less RAM. As you can see, I have 4 gigabytes of RAM dedicated, and I'm using 26% of that. So I'm using about 1 gig, which is something Optifine will do for you. So if we look out here, you can see that there's no clouds enabled. I'm going to enable those clouds here in a second, but I did want to show you. I disabled the clouds for the shader, so you guys could see it with without the clouds, but this one, we're on the server, and the shader pack with Optifine gives you amplified stars. I don't know if you can see it, but it looks really, really nice. Yeah, I really like the way that it looks. of course the moon. So let me go ahead and put clouds on. Alright, so now that I have clouds enabled, I wanted to show you that they're not like overpowering square blocks. They are actually kind of hazy looking. They look really cool. I don't know if you can see them moving, but they look really amazing, especially from the mob grinder. So I am on the server. I am using Optifine. Let me hit tab so you can see I'm on the realm. And I wanted to show you some other things. If you guys don't like stock glass, if you don't like the square look, I myself like it just how it is right now, but I did want to show you a simple go into animation and turning on, I think it's on details, translucent box, that's not it, quality, it's okay, under quality, if you enable fancy, this is what I was going to show you with the shader on, but I wanted to show you it on the server because this is a modified texture. As you can see, it makes one single, makes a bunch of glass into a bunch, makes individuals look like one pane. I myself don't like the way it looks on this house in particular because it just looks like there's huge holes there. But if you put things together, for instance, like it makes everything look smooth, so it'll make everything look like one piece. It gets rid of the edges. Like on this texture, it's supposed to show edges, but if we actually go downstairs and I show you some books, it gets rid of the lines in between, and we're going to just look at that real quick. So by using this, it makes it look like one big bookshelf. So instead of having a bunch of individuals, that's what it looks like, and it's definitely cool. Now it really sucks, but you don't get the lighting effect without the shader mod. I really like that. So hopefully one day we'll be able to use a shader mod while we're actually in game. But I did want to show you, I am using Optifine, which is not like a creative mod. It's not something like that. It's actually a really cool mod. I think it optimizes your Minecraft experience. So for the end of this video, we're going to take a ride on Rupert. And I just wanted to show you a difference. Now I'm going to just tell you, I don't use Optifine when I'm in single player, but on the server I've noticed huge differences. For instance, as I'm running with the horse, normally on the server with the default, even with my computer, as good as it is, basically I would run and get to a point where there would be no map loaded, or I'd start seeing through the map, especially when I stop and turn around and go back the other way. With Optifine, it senses what you did and it starts loading the map before you get there. As you can see, I'm actually it's rendering it before I ever get there, which explains to me why or how when you're seeing people on servers, how it renders before they ever get there. Now I can extend my field of view, but on a realm, it knows that you're trying to extend it beyond 16. So I would say that 16 is probably the best for a realm. I've extended it up to 20, and it's been cool. But I did want to show you guys. Yeah, this is my realm world, so I don't normally, like I said, in the future episodes we're going to be using pure BDcraft. But let me change the windows back. Alright, so now that the windows are like, they're how I like them. I mean, this is how the house was designed to look, and I think it looks the best like this. My FPS is cool. So right now I'm only rendering 16 chunks, but you can extend that with Optifine. And I will say that I don't recommend using Optifine myself on single player. You can if you like it, if you've used it before and you're familiar with it, you can do it, but I myself find that it's the best on a server. It really, using fast rendering and using presets and preloads, it's really, there's a lot more to choose from. If you don't have a good computer, you can also minimize things beyond what you normally see. Here's a little setting I'm going to show you. It's called smooth chunk loading. It makes you load more chunks, but things are a lot more ready. and I'm going to just show you that. We're going to actually go through the Nether real quick, and we're going to go up on top of the world, and you'll see that I'm loading a lot of chunks, but my FPS isn't dropping below 59. Now with this particular texture, because it has because the Nether has animated blocks, normally this would cause horrendous lag spikes as I'm going through, and as you can see, what it's doing is it's splitting the load. So if you look, my allocated memory has increased, and it's basically it's working with the server. So I'm kind of sharing my RAM with the server, so it's not quite such a load. So it has, in this block, I mean, how many, I don't know how many blocks are actually here, but let's just zoom in and look at the animated blocks. So the entire Nether is like that. So yeah, really cool. We're gonna go ahead and go on top of the world. So yeah, this is the texture we're probably gonna use. I will say that I have seen some lag spikes, but the thing that I just enabled, which was basically to have more chunks load, yeah, let me just, because it makes the chunks load more, you can actually see that the mobs spawn a lot quicker because it registered me as being here before I actually got here. So my mob spawner works a lot better. The ground and the clouds, I don't know if you guys can see this, it doesn't render quite as fast, but it doesn't need to because you're not here. So that's where it's smart. It doesn't load things that are not necessary. It gives you the best FPS that you have at the time. So yeah, it would be nice to see that and load it, but it's not really necessary. So I just wanted to show you guys Optifine on the server. I really like the clouds on this. They're not so crappy. I mean, they're not like just square blocks. They're modded 2D clouds, and they look flat and they look really nice with Optifine. So yeah, 1.7.9, and we are on a realm, and I'm using Optifine, and you can see that the mob spawner is actually working the way that it's supposed to. Alright, sorry to cut it short right in the mid-sentence, but I talked for another 10 minutes, and I decided to just cut that out and just do this last little part, last little part. Yeah, I wanted to just show you that there's so much more you can do with Optifine on a realm, which I think is really cool. And they do update it pretty quickly, so if they switch to the 1.8 tomorrow, I might be waiting a week before being able to use Optifine again, but all it would do is get rid of that background pattern. But as far as the texture, it's supported, so, but anyway, it wouldn't matter. It all will work out. But I did want to just show it to you, show it to you guys, show it working. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and of course, follow the links in the description and check it out. This new version of the shader it actually says that it will work on I think it's a 540 graphics card, like a GTX 540. It says minimum, so you should definitely be able to run it. I put it on my Alienware, which only has a 640 GT. I think it's a 6. It doesn't matter. It runs it fine. It's only at 30 FPS, but it runs the shader on it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Comment, like, and subscribe, and have a good one. Later.